Sanje chöda soje
Dāngsaki chōnam lō jāngchū pā dāgni gāpsu chī dāgi chūnin gīpē tsoknām kī chōlam pāñchū sāngē chūpā Shōki chōnam lō jāngchū pā dāgni gāpsu chī dāgi chūnin gīpē tsoknām kī chōlam pāñchū sāngē Soki chonam lo janju pa da ni gapsu chi dagi chonyen gi pe taknam ki jolam panja sange tupa so gate gate para sum gate bodhi swaha Dayata gate para sum gate bodhi swaha Dayata gate para some gate body swaha
semje 탐제가 도 톱잘라나 마쳐봐 산제 고바를 뭐자 진내죠 토바차 뒤에서도 그 장주선 말랍잖아 출시도 나도 랑고 라와래 신고 신발에 퇴고래 퇴지 쇼마노 가지고 안 가서 봐와데 계속 좀 보시와래 제베 준주가 되는 제 시점 얘기 있었던지.
And so my aim is to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And to attain such an attainment, I know I must do whatever I possibly can, namely to perfect all the trainings on the Bodhisattva path. To perfect those trainings in turn, I must also be able to know what they are about, to understand what is involved. And to do that, I need to be able to gain that information by relying upon a non-mistaken and an authentic text. So it is with this in mind that I am here to listen to just such a text, the Bodhisattva's the Bodhisattva's way of life, as composed by the great master Shantideva.
아니 남주도 딩게들 모두 고물이 팀을 좀 지금 여기 인사 뭐다 디전 어딘데 검자도 난 남주 가서래 지금 류나나 최된데게다 같이 지 가투도 시대 아니 그게 소소 루보다 되게 아니 대담배보다 된데 공개 다다 대마도 왜네 뭐봐 이제 그 저기 또지 길좀 쟤는 그래서 류나나 최된데게다 지 남주 검자다 루기 내단 그랬을 때 그때 낚시 대요 삼상
And so, as always, as is the mode of this teaching, is that we're doing so in the context of a meditation, and to engage in as much as possible the posture of meditation as you are listening would be very, very good. This is the placement of mind and body in the correct way to be able to receive such a teaching. And if one can then to be able to sit in the Vajra posture with the legs crossed, of course, that would be very, very good. So even if one cannot do that in physically, to be able to imagine that one is in that posture is extremely auspicious, as it is following the recommendation of the Buddha Vairocana that it is the means by which we can purify negativities of body by simply imagining ourselves in that position. And so we also, as part of a teaching, set up the merit field in the space in front, which is embodied by, or it contains the figure of Shakyamuni Buddha, who is in fact our own root guru. The Buddha has one face and two hands. seated in the Vajra posture, dressed in the saffron robes of a monk, with the right hand in the earth-touching mudra, touching the ground in front, the left hand in the meditative equipoise posture, holding an alms bowl filled with nectar. The Buddha is greatly compassionate and skilled in means.
그거다 지나 사수 유대 탐자 상태 어디든지 공부시 랑게 타고도야 아니 체디 파마네 제가 랑게 ting기 잡에 아니 파마 제가 가서 ting기 잡아 파마 제가 가서 ting기 보이면 타이에 맞게 쓰면 이제 마상 매워 유 삼사 어디를 공부시
And so the Buddha has all of the complete qualities of an enlightened being. All around us are all kind, mother sentient beings, starting with our parents of this life, going back to the parents of our previous life, and so on until we get to, beginningless time, and with the understanding that there is no sentient being who has not acted in that role of parent for us in the past.
어디다 산제스도 먼저 루규 온도 전에 다 간저 로니 동갑제 코나 아니 산제 좀 된대서 어딘데게 지금 삼로자 많이 받자 산제가 연대 삼로 단네 상게 세도 아니 가서 용배 아니 그 바자도 저 방태게 연대가 차 용수 좋아되게 상게 붙다 생도 상게 그게 연대도 좀 거쳐 봤잖아요. 좋아? 심지어도 투게 람람 뭐봐서 상게 나라도 투게 나라도 람 나라도 뭐봐서 상게 아니 연대가 차 용수 좋아되게 경기차 아니 배 바차라 잡아 세되게 된대게 아니 연대 통해 거네 연대게 차네 뭐였지는 상게 쓰지 어딘데 된대 상게 어딘데 좀 공부시 어딘데
And so when we are visualizing the figure of the Buddha, we try to avoid the
international
simple representation of Dharma Buddha under 600 is two syllables. The sang refers to the fact that this being has completely and utterly purified all negativities, as well as their imprints. They're completely gone. And the Ge refers to the fact that the Buddha has generated all good qualities to their absolute completion. And so this is the way in which we kind of like think when we're visualizing a figure of the Buddha. The Buddha has, for all sentient beings, generated that mind of enlightenment. For all sentient beings, proceeded on the path according to that motivation. And for the sake of all sentient beings, has generated full and complete enlightenment. And so similarly, he has done exactly the same for us, has generated the mind of enlightenment, proceeded on the path, and generated full and complete enlightenment. And so we are recognizing the figure of the Buddha in relation to these enlightened qualities.
상계 세대 어디 연대 침벌 파다되어 맞아 랑게 미유소죠 심지어 탐제 랑게 타워인데 심지어 대다 탐제라 그 대다게 탐제가 된주배 제도 아니 고 근데 다 미유대 상계 고마데 아니 된도냐 자서 뒤 연대인데 아니 소소라 톱거에 맞아 소소가 된도냐 맞아 어딘데 좀 공부하시네 아니 상계 세대보다 소소게 연대되는 저 소소라 심지어 탐제가 톱에 채도 온다 가서도 톱에 채도 다 간제 지게 랑게 룽아 이송게 자주 근데시나 이 규로 줘두야지 이 톱에 규로 줘두고 어디서 공부하시고 이거래 어디서
And so when we are observing a visualization of the Buddha like this, it's to see the Buddha as example, this is what is the result of really fulfilling the means of all sentient beings, of fulfilling the objective of bringing all sentient beings to enlightenment. And so this is the example of an enlightened being. And that we see this as something that we aspire to, that we also can do so. We can emulate what the Buddha has done, and being able to really purify body, speech, and mind, and to generate the essential enlightened qualities of body, speech, and mind just the same. We have that potential.
어디를 공부하시는 아니 어디 도바 산제 도바 세다 아니 도베 연대 되시보네 다에 때와 이제게 때와 뭐도게 때바지 랑게 타고는 이번 심제되다 탐제라 게 아니 도에 대화를 때 대화풍 미투버 동에 때 동에 찍지라 찍 나되게 될 때는 아니 동에 나와라 미세베 니제 될 대화 되게 잡아 그러와 대화 되게 잡아 아니 대다 거기서 동에 교대 줘봤지 대게 대화시다 안 대화 탐제 된바 된두게 잡아 어들레세 아니 대대게 대화데 도바데 뒤놈야마 딱그 저거 맞는 냐베 어다 된데고 뒤바 아니 어든데 용할래야 니리 차단의 제가 따뇨라 내가 좀 맞으나 거의 밤에봐 된데 이제 심제 수인바이네 니리 차단의 제가 따뇨는 집어는 내가 주제 내가 쇼제 내가 다게 지가 대다 젠도 라마 투베 오베 징글라도 소 공부시
And so in contemplating such qualities, there's arises in us this kind of spontaneous sense of faith, the pure faith, manifest faith, the faith of conviction. And that alongside that, in reflecting on the sentient beings, we see how sentient beings are so desperately bereft of the happiness that they want and so inundated with the suffering that they do not want. And this automatically, again, generates a sense of compassion for us, for wanting to relieve them of that suffering, and a sense of love, wanting to endow them with the happiness that they so need. And so we make this kind of pledge, how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings had a happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from the suffering and the causes of suffering. May they and then never be separated from the happiness that knows no suffering and the excellent bliss of liberation. And may they abide in equanimity, free from the attachment and anger that hold some close and others distant. And may this be the case. May I see to it that it is the case. So, Guru Deity, please bless me to make this so.
dele soata waltana reta rangi tuna seda lama tuba ombudele kusun togeta kasade reta kusun toge ani kasode odele soata waltana kusun togeta kachaja ngo kusun toge yende namba tuji kabi namba pado mebo randa rata simja tamjala ma 중앙에 때는 어느 통화면 디바다 켜봐도 안 미게 주고 추던데 걔는 소주와 맞으면 주인 잡아서 나선데서 로다다 제와 어느 저거 제가 하나마다 라지 가다 내가 근데 사는 배 나니 되는지도 어디는 공부시
And so as a result of our supplications in this way, then light rays begin to emanate from the body, speech, and mind of the Guru Buddha that we are visualizing in front, with the white light predominant and dissolving into ourselves and all sentient beings. It effects a purification of all negativities that we have accumulated since beginningless time, centering on the 10 non-virtues of killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, of lying, harsh speech, divisive speech, and idle gossip, and of covetousness, malicious intent, and wrong view, as well as all naturally occurring negativities and those proscribed by the Buddha. We feel that they are completely purified.
아니 되네 양조 소화다 월 때네 아니 두제 도스 두제 나가 임발라 도 두제 세부슈 차와지 버네 안다랑다랑 타고 심지 탐제게 아니 룡아 예송다 티발라 때네 아니 또바 샤자도베 투줄을 요반 나신게 아니 고소데 저지 가서데 경계 차다도 연대 탐제 대대가 어떤데제 뭐 뉴안이도 토비에게 바사 켜바제 샤소 소 고마시
And again, through making supplications, the light rays again emanate from the Buddha, this time with the golden yellow light predominant. And then it's dissolving into the body, speech, and mind of ourselves and all sentient beings. This is the bestowing light, where we are bestowed with the imprint, very powerful imprint for being able to generate the qualities of enlightenment.
어디를 공부하시 어디를 전 딱한테 로다 델레지 돈베 공부를 토발라 아니 다 지금 로아다 공부 도발라 다 자주가 세다 돈이 되게 싫어하게 냠냠 맞아도 다 매바 인사 아니 뒤 냠내 수신도 제도에 제도 아니 다 슝대다 볼라 아니 퇴삼 제고 요도 아니 다른 것도 봐 아니 주주고 슝대 왔다 왔는데 지금 공부 차신 방안에 삼로 코신 방안에 아니 예제 어떤 바 검신 방안에 semjala 미베 닝제 좀 마셔자라 미베 다에도 봐 이게 또 봐. 문도 것도 같은데 지금 아니 배 zi si bachana, dende yu niwe zi si bachana, se che water che.
And so it's knowing that the Guru Buddha has developed all the qualities of enlightenment, that we are visualizing through the degeneration of the mind of enlightenment and great compassion, etc. And so it is with this in mind and with this intention as well that I will emulate what the Buddha has done by sincerely listening to and trying to integrate everything I learned from the Bodhisattva's way of life here today. And so maintaining that sense of triple faith, of pure, manifest, and a faith of conviction in the Guru Buddha, and then a mind which is also keeping in mind compassion for all the sentient beings all around us. We set ourselves to listen to some verses from this wonderful text.
Water che, water. Kasa ngani ti sam di shiba dende di ba, shiba dela tunge, me jing se dewa gyaba che ribala shi chen te, wa?
Dire
Lam tu be rimbala mi kebe, kansa la, lam tu be rimbala mi kebe, kansa la lu se mi dewa yue jang, keba la, kaje ke tunge mebe, se mebe. Tena, semba chenpo ho sa kowa ne wala kyo e kyu me la, kyun tsen tena, lam tu wala, teba meba le, keba sheba ta, tena, sembe chwe wala sa kilukwa mi ja wo, se, wote se, wote de, kasa
And so
shate.
we had arrived at a fourth outline in the text and the chapter on enthusiastic effort, where it says, without any suffering and with an increasing happiness, it is right that we should rejoice. This has four subheadings. The first of these, when establishing the path in stages, for those who are inexpert, then they will experience suffering of both body and mind. Whereas those who are masters, who have really gained expertise, they do not suffer with the necessary hardships on the path. And the second of these subheadings is this means that the bodhisattvas that we are referring to, therefore, have no cause for any despondency or sadness in having to stay in cyclic existence for a long time. And because of that reason, it is said that that the bodhisattva then has more expertise in relation to progress on the path than the Shravaka beings. And the fourth of these subheadings is that it's kind of like for a bodhisattva to have any sense of despondency then is completely, irrelevant and incorrect.
Wote le chana, ta kaje kasa re, ta ngarang zo la, ngarang zo lenyung ki shewaan tu juwa yinzang, ane kowa le neba tila dunga yungu ya. Lenyung ki shewaan ziwa ta rangi kechi la rangwa yo ma re. Ane chige rangi, ane tila kiki mesa soso la rangwa yo ma re. Ane gadyu chigi ime to soso la rangwa yo ma re. Ta ane chige tanda dunga chi nane misyo yuang de tu, ane ta di dunga de majuna samsa chi tu, di dunga de pa yue chi ba, ya dunga shi ba chi ma nian wa de, di ma yue ki rang la kaso de rang yo ma de, ta dende ki rang mebe kap de la, ta dunga yung gu duwa, dunga yo, lu la dunga yo re, ane semge, ane chiga 가서 semge ya dunga yore chuni ma doba yinsa dunga yuante yore ta gese dani chengbo chola ani chege kaso le ta semjeng ge duen zhube chedo rawang gwane ge ge yoba sa 아니 동해 연구 요 말해 아니 룰라 동해 매바 가서 삼라야 동해 요 말해 가서는 가서데 가서데다 지금 뭐 여기 내주 또 요바 인사 다음에 더 콘도 추바 여서 아니 동해 연구 요 말해 룰라 동해 매자 삼라 동해 연구 요 말해 왔다 어디 숨고 요다 왔다 내 인바 인사 아니 가서데 lam de la lam ne dunge tewa yong yo mare lam de la lam ne sanje ge lam de la la bala janju sembe lam la bala de ne ane dunge yo ba de me ba cha de dunge sa do ma yo ge ju cha ge yo re ma da tila de ne dunge tewa yong de yong yo mare ta ngara zo lo ma ta yo o ta janju ge sem ge nyam le ja ba ta ka ngai shu cha sa re nge je tu sa mare sam sam de gare ji ge yo na rang dan da nyomo be xiang wa de ju rang sem ge xiang wa de ju sem nyomo be xiang wa de ju ba yin sa ane 안에 뭐여기 내저 통도 요 말아 딜라 되는 용 되고 요 로자 충단에 용 되고 요 봐. 보다 내가 된다 차대도 어디래.
And so a lot of these points are dealing with the kind of difference really between ourselves and the bodhisattvas, these wonderful beings. So from our point of view, we're very much kind of like very much kind of weighed down by karma and the mental afflictions. And so we don't have any kind of power really in our stay in cyclic existence. We're so easily put into a situations that we find unbearable. That we may encounter a suffering and pray that we are free of this suffering, only to kind of be free of that suffering and then to have to deal with the next suffering that comes along, one after the other. And so we have this physical discomfort and physical pain, physical suffering, and a mental suffering as well. And this kind of really contrasts quite a great deal with the bodhisattvas, who have, they have taken on this complete dedication of their life for the benefit of all sentient beings. And because they are so kind of selfless, they don't have this kind of preponderance on their own physical suffering. And because they have realized the true nature of reality in terms of emptiness, they don't have any mental suffering. And so here, this is extraordinary in itself, but we tend to have this kind of attitude, that's so kind of beyond me. These bodhisattvas, such extraordinary beings that I could never do that for myself. And this is really, this is kind of like a telling selling of ourselves short, because we are so in a way shackled and limited by the mental afflictions that we are dominated by. And this is the way, this is kind of, it manifests in this kind of a short-sightedness and a lack of ambition on our part spiritually. And we don't see reality also. This is another thing that kind of keeps us kind of very much in a small sort of a box, and very short-sighted. We don't see the big picture, and that prevents us from being able to really fully dedicate ourselves to the life of a bodhisattva.
장주 생배 내세 야 량데 아니 되네 지 가서데 레바당 안디간데 냠레 띵서부 나고 바다 다가네 생게 돈이게 따와 콘도 주바다 다가네 생게 아니 가서데 미다바 또바다 개왕한테 렌데래 띵수바 예바다 근데 내주 망보지라 되네 강에 그데 중화 인바이네 아니 미세바 마에 강에디 아니 강에 태바 마차예 아니 강에디 중화디 아니 가서데 아니 저기 아니 레 자주 선바 레 당보하지 뭐 이나양 来当过金吧，人那样，对这个说的个说的连着了捏巴当，叫我俺去了捏巴当，大概那些个这个说的东西了捏巴当，等这个那当忙不去了，等呢，俺们绿个这个俺们来个我刚才就话人那样，什么刚才没用哎。俺那这连着捏巴等这个等呢，俺那这个俺那白他说的这当多两下都什么个，他真的讲究什么？你在家拖的，俺那刚才买这个，俺那给起来让我约这个，我打真的瞧着俺那刚才买的不，他刚才约的人个这个让真的打这没这个。往给俺那来啥，第二天那刚才用这个了，他讲究个什么两年前的觉得这个的，俺那他说的这个。然后在当时马里边，你把这冲的，哪不是没法吃这个？讲究是两年结巴了，但呢，刚才吃的时候，刚才冲的，他刚才吃的没法吃出来去，用这个药了。当然那些夸了那边人来，他这个那些牙来这个，就是让我拖把人生，刚才没这个吃。我当那当得吃到了嘛，都第两年结巴了，但刚才用的我就买的。刚才用的让个来年把啥完了，在那用这个药了嘛，都讲究个是的，当年都被写了，两年结巴了，但刚才没法吃这个药了。我当第一嘛的他。我吃过药了，我得了，我那时候当过来当过了，我嘛就要看看的，得了，我看看伢们接触什么的是当过的略当个药吧，那当得了吃这个当我得了，嗯嗯。
And so we look at the reality or the situation of a bodhisattva. They have generated a great understanding of, if not realization of the doctrine of emptiness. They have conviction in the law of cause and effect of past and future lives. They, for them, it's not that suffering doesn't occur, but that they don't buy into that suffering. They don't see it as a problem, as an issue. And so they are, first of all, that suffering is not going to increase or repeat. And secondly, they can really handle all of that so convincingly, even from the point of view of a beginner bodhisattva. Again, the basis is that they have such great conviction in all the aspects of the path, the past and future lives, emptiness, and so on, and particularly that conviction in the law of cause and effect, so that when something occurs, they have this perfect context for it, and so the understanding why this has occurred, and therefore do not get overwhelmed by it. And the mind has no suffering because they have this, kind of understanding of reality. They can really see the true nature of reality, and so they have this control in every moment. And so that's something from the Bodhisattva's point of view, that in their practice, therefore, suffering is going to become more and more and more minimized. And their kind of faith and their conviction in the path is going to become more and more and more and more dominant. And so it's kind of like they know exactly why they are where they are at. They know what they're about. And so being in cyclic existence is they lose no sense of their own power. They have perfect control. They are not buying into suffering. And it's something, yes, it's quite remarkable to think about, but we should never fall into a situation where, you think, oh my goodness, I couldn't practice like that, and therefore give up. It's something that to say that we, too, we have that potential, we have that capacity. If only we would start to win that control from the afflicted mind states that we kind of pander to too often.
我的，好多都这个各说的，这我那张那个让你，这个让些甚至他的对话，他起码就对个多了他，第二们嘛，这他们啷个你把就买这个去，是吧？啷个你把就买这个去，是 rồi chỉ đến tung ấy chỉ như vậy để có ràng để được là chung chỉ đến tung ấy chỉ như vậy cái gì chỉ đến tung ấy cho để có ràng để được là chỉ đến 대화 để có hiện để được là chung ta chuyên chuyên là xong rồi thế chỉ đến là tung ấy cái này chung là phát thal phát phát 또 어디 아 ràng chân là được用되게用됐어 chỉ đến là 대화 cái này cho bạn này thì cái phát 제가 지금은 탈도사도 hiện chân là được用되게 됐어 아니 된 얘기 개발할 때는 다 대화 되고도나 아니 hiện chân là 니바체도 다외 란진들 숙청도 당해겠다. 뒤면도 탑시만 니바지 요 말했어. 어다 뒤 임바데 아니 가서 돼다. 가서 돼. 제바체네. 제바체네. 다들 니바 니바지 소구도 와. 뒤 니바 니소나 아니 딜라 다들 냠네데 제투구로 와. 니바 말이나 아니 다 시기 셰데바는도 라레라 란진들 갈라 도디거로 와. 나게 고바 숙서 보여 인사. 어디래?
And so what we need to be able to reach a very firm conclusion is that this is the path. This is the path. There is no second way to being able to attain this kind of result. And that it's kind of like important to understand that, for example, in terms of this great verse where it says, all the suffering in the world can be pinpointed in self-cherishing. All the happiness of the world can be pinpointed in cherishing others. And then you say, look at the difference between these two. We need to enhance the former and reduce the latter. There is no other way. There is no second way. And to be able to just take that much on board is kind of a really big step forward. And so, but it's about gaining conviction, really. The more conviction, the more progress. The less conviction, the more doubt. The more doubt, then the more that mental affliction will take hold again.
어딘데 연구다 어딘데 된데 임바인사 아다 다 된데 임바인사 다 지금 알아두고 다리 아니 가서데 지금 가서데 밀리톱 디나네 산제게 템바데 제네 산제게 템바라 팀비게 데바데 이지 유에데 된데 그 뒤주 될라다 지금 제마도 와이나 다디 탑 라신이가 더 타치마 두베데 장주가 셈 냠네 제네마도 탑매바 인사 다 된데 두베 다 그거때 다른 상황이 매버라 다 딜락반에 쇼바이나 다 정말 가고 싶이 차대로 가버려 저와 가버려 다 다른 제도가 될 맞이바이나 대한다 치원게 남친님에 치외서 최만도 간이 좀 미변바 인바인사 어다 단단한 고수고도 치원게바 인사 치원게 남친님에 치외서 최만도 간이 미변바 인바인사 어다 된대게 냠내 제대 안바 타제 남진 예반 인자 아니 단단한 타제 치외도 처마다 관계야 미변바 인자 다 지제대 아니 자주 거서다 돈이도 배 셔라 냠내를 bun고에다 타주 제국도 다 타주대 다 타주 제국도 어디 다 제투바 제는 강투도게 냠내 제대 개지 못해도 어디래
And so today, we can say we have taken this example from the Guru Buddha. We have developed that sense of faith. We have kind of really felt it in our kind of system. And so we say vow that we'll never forget this, but be able to really, dedicate ourselves to fulfilling the purpose of ourselves and others. We need to generate that mind of enlightenment. That's very, very important. I would say, at least now I recognize this opportunity in front of me now. I must not, kind of like dismiss it or turn my back on this, because I never know when this opportunity will arise again. So because, death is definite. The time of death is indefinite. And only one's practice is going to be any good to us at the time of death. And so when we contemplate these 3 points of the absolute fact that death is definite, is that we must now, be definite about our acceptance of and our dedication to Dharma practice. When we understand that the time of death is indefinite, the lesson there is, the conclusion there is that there is no time to waste. I cannot put this on the long finger anymore. I must get into the practice right now. And when we understand that only our Dharma practice will be of good to us at the time of death, we must, dedicate everything we can to being able to generate the mind of enlightenment and a realization of emptiness as quickly as possible, and just as exclusively as we can manage. In other words, do everything we possibly can to give it our best shot, is what we should conclude.
그거 다 장주가 생명 냠내잖아. 아니 초에 코란 거서. 소는 그래서 디바에 코란 거자. 초에 코란 거사. 들이 지고 요래. 다 되네 이마 인사. 아니 딜레 네바 체외 최체다 매버다. 매버 왔다 매버래. 어딜레
And so to generate that mind of enlightenment is the purpose of really focusing on the obscurations that must be eradicated, the collections that must be accumulated, and that's all we need to focus on. That's enough.
어딜레도 초에 코란자. 아니 디바에 코란 장게 된데 그 누바 첨부 요에 된게 된데 그다. 다른 냠슬란주 요바다 말하나 빼면서 방법이 봤다. 어딜레 어딜레 다 관계 가라서 관계는 배주체 개체버려도 어딜레 다 된데 임바인데 다 다른 어딜레 다 dimba서 어다 대 냠내 전에 동네 요마스 콜레 네바네 동네 요마스 가서 자주 그 셈다 돈이 도베 셔럽 냠내 그 온게 콜레 네바네 동네 용거 마스 로 동네 용거 요마레 어들 동네 용거 요마레 어딜레 다 람주베 짐발라 미케베 간사라 루세 미데와 요자 케발라 가제게 동네 메바레스 메바이데 디과 방제 동해메 케베 체나 미가메 야다 로파 또바다 그래서 디베 셈다 룰라네
And so it's really that we really ought to take it on as a kind of a vow that from today I will absolutely throw everything into it. I will give everything into it, into right achieving that kind of mind state or that position, that outlook of a bodhisattva. And to not do so would be a disaster. We have to reach it like that conclusion. And to understanding as well that from a point of view of a bodhisattva in cyclic existence, there really is no suffering. Why? Because they have generated the mind of enlightenment and they have an understanding of emptiness. And this is like a protection. The first of these subheadings read that in establishing the path in stages, the inexpert will experience mental and physical pain, whereas those who are expert, they will not feel the suffering with the necessary hardships that they have to go through. And verse number 27 looks at this point, and it reads, having forsaken all negativity, there would be no suffering, and due to wisdom, there would be no lack of joy. But now my mind is afflicted by mistaken conceptions, and my body is caused harm by unwholesome deeds.
장주 셈베 다 장주 생베 냠내 제너로 장주 셈베 고숨게 디바 타다 빵베처다 고숨게 아니 얘기 마고 받제네 얘기 그거 받이가 빵베처 아니 또 빵바 인자 빵베처 류동와라 동해매체 류동와라야 동해 용거 말레스 가서나 류동의 동해 용에 대 가서나 아니 고숨게 녀바 마바 인자 아니 딜라테네 다 녀바 마바 인자 아니 딜라테네 용두고 요와 다 고숨게 녀바 빵와 있나 아니 동해 용거 말레 그래서 루셈의 동해 연구 요마 때서 류동와라 그래서 류동와라 동해 매칭 류동와라 동해 매칭 다 세제내라 케베도라 최근 내로 타도라 케바 인사 케베치나 셈미가와야 연구 요마레스 가서나 디 아니 그래서 로타까지 그래서 셈미가와 매체 좀제 대다 임바서 다도 진배 로바 도베서 똑바다 디바 미게베 류다 섬라 네바 다니 전부 the is a lucem la nebe good data, lucem la nebe good to you might to your mothers, did talk about this, talk about image. Did talk about that and lucella can add you must. Lucella can add your head the career to go yourself, and the Gazol Gosunge, and because of the Gosunge, Gosgola Taka Rota Gosunge, and Tiba Mawanja, Tilatene, and leg number me, but shoot some boy you again. Nami number me, but shoot some boy you again. And to 가서 돼 아니 샘딩네 다도 좀다 다지 마리보다 란전진이게 심바 숙처보 유대가 된대들 아니 류레 동아 용데 샘레 동아 용데 중거래 단위 처보들 류선레 동아 그 규定데 매바 인자 규定데 아니 그 지다도 침바 인자 아니 데 류선레 네바디 요마레스 또 네바 규定도바 인자 요마레스 어떤 정도다 어디자 Hello? Yeah. Hello? Hello? It's gone? Yeah, no, there. Coming. Hello?
Hello again.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, the drella said Mendurvada.
Anh nghe trên nhà cho làm cả.
Last open.
Là số. Ở ta cảm giác 장주 선배 고속제 디바 타다 방외 체르스 디바 타자 방외 임바인사 아니 류라 동아여서 류라 동아여데 랑게다 님에 나게 레사베 레님베 디디슈 첨부 용안에서 용한테가 여러 디게다 태원도 용한테가 여러 안데에서 고속제에서 디바 타다 방외 체 아니 류 동아래 동해 매진사 동해 매진 안 세제내라 제베 로다가 류 동안도 장선 류 동에 가선 줄여봐. 지다 류 펜바 땅에 류 땅에 다 땅에 제 아니 감 남세나 다류 동나 나와 여바들다 소소 땅원에 가서 매바 정도 장제 사당보 알려서나 아니 류 땅원에 나와 연구 요래. 뒤에서 가서나 된대게 가서다 사 가서 다가자 류섬 고송게 디바타다 다르바다 돈이 고송도 또와인사 고송게 다 룽아 거서 저 고송게 디디 타다 다 가서래 다 가자 저 로타 다면 고송도 또봐 인바 인사 아니 류디 다 가서데 삭제가 류차가 요 말이야 사메 류고 조자 또보다 땅와 이나야 다 동네 연구 요 말이야 동네 매체 아니 세제달라 개베 치나 아니 셈라 미가와데 요 말에서 다 돈이 고송도 또대도 아니 된대게 가서데 로타 가자다 가서데 셀라 마가다 마기바던데 요거 요말 바 트로피고 요래 근데 좀제 대다 아사 다도 집에 록바 똑바다 다도 록바 똑바다 디바미 다도 좀제 대다 아사 다 동네 용어데 다도 집에 록바 똑바 유에되게 디바미게 르다 디바미게 어슈처보던데 요바자 르다 셀라 네데고라 다니 첨보들라 르셀라 네베 규데다 안 똑바데서 요마데스
And so the meaning in this particular verse saying that the Bodhisattva has kind of really abandoned all negativities of body, speech, and mind. I mean, all faults have kind of like are being dealt with, or have been dealt with, and therefore, and because of that, they have no suffering even when they donate their body. And so this is the context of the body is being given for benefit, in order to benefit a given situation. But because of their realization of emptiness, and because of their mind of enlightenment, the quality of those realizations, that body is no longer a contaminated body. It's a non-contaminated body, and therefore there's no suffering involved in the giving of it. And indeed, likewise, because of their realization of emptiness, or the kind of their understanding of the status of all objects of knowledge, as it says here, they have no mental suffering. In fact, only joy and enthusiasm for benefiting others. However, from our point of view, because of our grasping at the existence of the true existence of a self-entity, this wrong conception, then we engage in non-virtuous negativities, and that brings forth both harm to both body and mind for us. Whereas the situation from the Bodhisattva's point of view is completely opposite. They don't have the negativity or the harm to body and mind, because they are no longer creating the causes for such harm.
단단히 장세 파파로 숨고라 류동에게 류동초에게 나와 유근데 장세 파파서 사당보 야게만 될 쓰기로와.
So specifically here, it's referring to a bodhisattva, an Arya, what's known as an Arya bodhisattva. They are on the first bodhisattva ground, and they have realized emptiness directly. And this is when they're talking about the giving of the body, the donating of the body for benefit.
가서다 제가 루타나 아니 랑게 냠래라 마되바제네 아니 페바 연구 여바 인사 아니 근데 사당보네 루타에 나와요. 셰 지바셰 당바인데 루타에라야 가자 여바데 루트 당와래 되네 랑게 남네 무트네 지엘래 녀게고 여다 장선 레당보라 가자 여래 가자 여래 이네야 동에 선바베 동에 선바 곰 아니 동에 선바 곰인데 아니 남시나 아니 동에 뒤줄래 레온데 류동알래 아니 펜바 주에만 내가 마요 잠라 레온데 류땅도가 중고 여봐 땅도가 중고라 와 동샘고 얘네 류땅고스 땅에테 아니 사당보 야면도 땅에 나와디 요 말이 어디서
And so there's a certain how do you say, qualifications to being able to give your body away for a benefit like that. And so the requirement is that you are absolutely certain that there will be no interruption to or compromise to your practice by giving your body away like that. So it's a very particular situation. For a bodhisattva who is not an Arya bodhisattva, therefore, those who have the mind of enlightenment but have not realized emptiness directly, such a practice of giving away the body isn't allowed. It's saying you haven't reached that qualification yet. You haven't reached that point where you can do that.
가서 라니 가서 레뉴기 시완체 이마 레뉴기 시완체 이마 인자 아니 제가 류디 아니 사제가 류온도 땅소나다 랑기 류래 강에 제거 동에라 소바 용되게 요래 아니 셈게 아니 젠제 숙청부 요래 그러와 다도 마도와 다도 집에 심바 숙청부 요래 아니 미다발라 딱 봤으면 단지 숙청부 요래 아니 된데에서 셈래 강에 제거 요래 다 류세니가라 강에 용대 중국도와 뭐다 계세 다니 다 저거 산내가 심바도 다 강에 되게 연구요 말이야 어때요 아니 코알레 양양 주에 대배 빼매 서로 강반의 시절 같이 쪼신 거네 다 코알레 패두고 요래 어때요 코에넬 패네 아니 심지가 또 랍치부터 두고 요라 어때요.
And so the difference, of course, you can see from the point of view of ourselves as kind of rank beginners, where we're still very much dominated by karma and mental afflictions. To try to give the body away would be something that was fraught with problems. Not just because it's a contaminated body that we're giving away, but it's very problematic because of the degree of self-cherishing that we have. Not only that, but our grasping at permanence, wanting to actually maintain the body for as long as possible. There's a lot of kind of good reasons why it's not a good idea to engage in this kind of practice as a beginner. And so from the point of view of an Arya bodhisattva, there's a degree of spontaneity about the practice and effortlessness to it, because they have reached that point whereby they understand that they have no compunction at all about re-entry into cyclic existence countless times, because it just gives me more benefit, more opportunity to benefit sentient beings, to help out sentient beings. So that's why they would see it as a no compromise to their practice.
니바 되나 선바 첨부 어서 코안 내발라 교회 주매바니 자왈래 소남기네 류데라 개바이네 셈데라 신전 코안 내자네 니제 젠다 지데 쪽서
And indeed, as a segue to that point is the second subheading here, where it says, therefore, the great bodhisattvas have no problem remaining in cyclic existence because there is no cause for them to be despondent. And verse number 28 says, as their bodies are happy due to their merits, and their minds are happy due to their wisdom, even if they remained in cyclic existence for the sake of others, why would the compassionate ones ever be upset?
어디래다 선바 첨부 대다 이게 류셈을 동에 코알 내바이네 류를 셈을 동에 용거 동에 매바 마세 아니 지게 진소라 소베 냠내 되죠 다 지제 최단 가서 지제 안에 셈제가 되면도 로다 지금 지제 셈제가 된 맛이 두고 여바인사 가리 제바이네 셈제가 된 두베 제도 로 냠내지 아니 셈제가 된 두베 아니 라셰메베 된라 아니 공바시에 어다 된데 제도 아니 진속에 아니 제부 다 지바다와 추좀 송화라 소베다 진소 파진 두고 냠내디게 난데도 아니 제베 아니 지바다 그래서 지바다와라 소바데 그 손놈 랍좀 사가자 디 제베 아니 류데와 아니 튕게디게 되 용대야 최단자 라시 매바 또네 개바 임바 인상 아니 셈자 아니 시데 바베 용대야 되나 에 현존도 코와 유인도 내자네 닝제 쩐다 닝제 첨부 닝제자 단위 첨부 대단네 아니 지대 교회 가르치는 교거를 교회 좀 셈매베 치로서 다 교화되가 가서나 아니 저거 레니바사베 제부 아니 독된 거 풍부 이어받자 아니 셈 차단 거 상황도 교화자 되게 아니 강에 채되고 여러봐 강에 채되고 여러봐 다 디메차도 강에 용에게 주디가 요 말을 와서 주매베 치로 셔 봐자
Okay. Okay, again now, Sriksong?
Ja, 그래서 고마서
Yangar, the driller,
나다면 다된자 선바 첨부 남제 로다 게세 단위 첨부 남제 게세 단위 첨부 남제 선바 첨부 대다게 류셈라 동에 용 말에서 류셈라 코알 양의 양도 배워 있는 류셈라 동에 자원이네 용 말서 동에 매배 마세 아니 그 셈라 쫄나 첨부 요래서 가서는 코나조 냠내 제데 아니 지바다에 추점 소에 소바 코메 라소바 된데 난거 요바 인사 아니 지발라 소바 단데가 손나고 소 짜쳐보 사는데 아니 데베 류대와 용거에 튕게디가 용되게 요래 아니 다 최다자 라신게 매바 또베 돈라 캐바 임바인다 아니 셈자 시대 용거에 되나 아니 현존도 코와 유인도 내바이나 강에 가요 말서 닝제 전부 단위 제대 지대 가르치는 교고에 나라도 내 당보를 교보 찾고야 강에 가르치는 책고서 나라도 류대 삭제가 류대 삭제가 류가 이마이자 아니 저거 그서도 류라 때문에 동안 나서봐 지는 거 요래 아니 셈디야 란 젠제다 단지 머리에 상황도 줘봐 인자 안베 지가소래 개인 중조지가 가초조 두초조 된데 용 되거든 아니 배 무트네 아니 마기바 숙처부터 용 되고 요래스 아니 게세 단위 첨벌 마기바 용에 규디가 요 말봐 규디가 되 매바이나 아니 코알레 네바이네 배 대화 패도에 동에 용거 말했어. 동에 용에 규문도 왔어. 동에서 규라 되는 중앙 임바인자 규매베 칩스고.
And so this is describing the status of the great bodhisattvas and saying that they have no physical suffering, but not only that, that they have all of this merit that they accumulate by practicing generosity, perfect ethics, perfect patience, etc. And so this produces a certain bliss, physical bliss in the body. And not only that, but they also have no suffering of mind because they understand the lack of any inherent existence in all phenomena. And so this brings about an understanding of the no suffering, mental suffering as well. And so this allows them to kind of fully dedicate for the benefit of all other sentient beings without any kind of impediment of feelings of suffering and so on. And that this and indeed they have, for the sake of sentient beings, for the sake of benefiting sentient beings, pledged to become to gain rebirth again and again and again in cyclic existence. And this is where they can perfect these practices in a way that there's no physical or mental suffering coming to them, and that there's more a sense of bliss in engaging into this kind of practice. And so this is in sharp contrast to where we're at, as beginners, that we are very much operating with a contaminated set of aggregates of body and mind. And so we have physical suffering due to that. And that also we have mental suffering because we're very much held back by self-cherishing and self-grasping. And so this brings forth constant kind of stream of unhappiness and frustrations and et cetera, for us. And so it's kind of very, very different scenario at the moment. The reason why bodhisattvas can operate in cyclic existence without any physical or mental suffering is because they have not collected the causes for any physical or mental suffering.
Pena chachawana ngaranzo ina pena le tangbo yinza ali soso ngoso dunga meba ina dibala dunga shon to majiba yong de do ta chas bo do alumba la ma ja do chibu min do ngaranzo ngara chitera gyase dani o de khoa pare khoa la dunga yongor wasan tangone ngocho de arwa di yimba yinza ngenjong kegu do de yimba da janju ge sem kombo do de da tongni ge tawo komgo jumje dirwa de yimba za dunga gase mawa thongwe soge ani nyamle la 퉁게 자원고 열봐. 냠내를 퉁게 자원고 열봐. 아니 닝제 숙체다 줘. 년종 숙체다 줘. 닝제 숙체다 줘. 장주가 셈 숙체다 줘. 동반이 되도록 예바 숙체도 녀도에. 어떤 내가 퉁게를 줘 되게 열봐. 나라도 련육의 생활제 되거는 란지데 다지 말이 봐. 단지 숙체뭐 여봐다. 강에제 통하던 나라도 막기바 전 대되거다. 다 맞아도 다 러시아다 유크레인 맞아도 미들 이스트 맞아도 다 전부 다 강에 또서 막기바 전에 대되거도. 막기바 전에다 다 계속 다니죠. 어데 거에 주니래. 욕라직 살게서 욕라직 연거래. 다 코아스는 동네거랑 전에서. 들은 예반이어도 냠래라 누바 랑기 냠래라 아니 코알라 예바 숙체도 체도 니도에 아니 코알라 닝보 메바 숙체도 체도 통도에 년종은 누바 숙체도 돼 들라데 장주섬 숙체도 개도에 들라데네 아니 지금 가서 뒤된存在다 망보고 네바 숙체 뭐제도 아니 가서 동반이라 예바 숙체도 체도 니도에 지금 라와나 맞어 봐 텐에 중화되고 예바 숙체도 체도 니도에 때려 영어 두고 열어
And so, yes, the difference is really a complete difference in perspective from our point of view. Very much kind of like it's compromised by mental affliction, karma. Is that even when there's no manifest suffering, like we're sitting there without feeling of suffering, the mind is drawn towards conflicts. What's happening in with Russia, the Middle East, etc., etc. We actually invite that sort of conflict in and create that sense of concern and anxiety and suffering in our own minds, without really it doing any good and to our system. And from the point of view of the bodhisattvas, that when they are in cyclic existence, or they reflect on cyclic existence, all of what their understanding is around the nature of suffering in cyclic existence, the very fact that cyclic existence itself is in the nature of suffering, it only serves to enhance their renunciation, their compassion, and their love, and their realization of emptiness. It's the understanding that they have is put to that use. And there's a kind of a vast difference then in the consequences of these kind of like perspectives, isn't there? So it's kind of like, from the point of view of a bodhisattva, their understanding of the suffering that they witness and they understand in cyclic existence is regarded as a conducive condition for their practice. It is something that is going to increase their renunciation, increase their compassion for those suffering sentient beings, increase their love, wanting to establish happiness for them, etc., etc. And that this is, something that it kind of fills that bodhisattva with purpose, with meaning, and with joy. And from our point of view, very much held back by mental affliction, that the war and conflict, other kind of existential crises that we kind of are aware of, that kind of really meddle with our sense of well-being, and that even when that suffering is not manifest for us, it's kind of like really to see that how our different perspective is not only having to deal with manifest suffering, but also we exacerbate our situation through our mental attitude to suffering. And so it's kind of very, very important that we have this understanding. The bodhisattvas, see cyclic existence. They understand the nature of what they're getting into. They are using the conditions of cyclic existence to enhance all of their practice, their love, their compassion, their understanding of emptiness, etc. And so this is we need to kind of move our kind of very much small-minded perspective into this much vaster perspective of the bodhisattva.
다 데레다 장조 삼바 되게데 다 아니 라돈데 장조 삼바 사타볼라 내가다 대화다 동에 건데제 세바네 데 처집에 튕겨라 저거도 나 개라 싸워냐 저거 요말 딱 말아도 내 당보라 아니 저게 대화를 통해나 야는 딜라 착sem께 아니 야 저거 착sem께네 아니 저 가소래 야 동네 주집대 다 동네 전화를 시에 먹어래 아니 저거 가소래 딜라데네 아니 야 저 가서데 양조 동네 교 납치 왔는데 못이는 동네 주줍되네 다 대화다 동네 그때 중앙 이바 이나야 가서 코알라 못는 네게 코에 동네 못는 용에게 주줍돼 주면도 제투면 도와 계세 단위 첨부 속에 가서데 손남고 소 납치부 이어받지 되게는 아니 최근 내로 아니 삐다고 킨거 여바 인상 킨거 여바 인상 아니 저 가서래 저기 디기 중앙이나 동네 중앙이나 되게 당가 최주에 튕겨라 치네 람곰에 건도 배에게 튕겨라 치네 아니 개개라 모터 튕겨라 줘 되게 열와 튕겨라 줘도 근데 개발 용 되거라 디가스나 셈 뒤마뒤다 아니 당간이 저 소사베 손는 거 손 납쳐보 사베 누바 유베 아니 가서데 최근 내로 타도라 녀바 띵사보 녀베가 된데글 때네 아니 그 지제 아니 가리 통하나 가리 시바나 가리 녀와이나 디가 그가 최주배 튕겨를 줘대 좀 되기도 다 디바 솔람데 자체의 체스소데 나사베 디바 슈충도 충도 전 디메바차 디메발라 차네 아니 솔람게 소다 아니 이시게 소게 아니 니발라 때네 지제 쳐서 줘대게 좀 되기도
And so again, that sort of contrast between the Bodhisattva way of life and our own way of life, really, that here what the Bodhisattva is able to do is to really understand and to kind of rejoice, really, in this opportunity of being able to benefit sentient beings, to increase one's collection of merit and wisdom. And from the great Bodhisattva's point of view, there is absolutely no obstacle possible to this practice. There is no situation within cyclic existence that would present a problem or an obstacle to the great Bodhisattvas, because they take everything as a conducive condition for practice. So whether it's a happy situation or a suffering situation, it presents no obstacle. They know exactly what to do. And this is contrasting to our point of view, isn't it? That when we experience some happiness, we automatically become attached to wanting more of that happiness. And no need to talk about when we experience suffering. The normal kind of reaction for us is to not only have to experience that happiness, that suffering, but to exacerbate that, to, for the way our thinking is that it increases for us, and so we have this major contrast between us, and it is a case of mind control, and it's a case of conviction, and these two aspects really kind of demarcate really the borderline between the ordinary beings that we are and the kind of Arya beings and the great Bodhisattvas. And so it's very, very important that we see this kind of big difference, and to understand this, that the great Bodhisattvas are fully concentrated on the accumulation of merit, the method, from the method side and from the wisdom side of really understanding the true status of reality of all phenomena, and that from their point of view, the experiences of happiness, the experiences of suffering are only viewed as conducive conditions for enhancing their Dharma practice. They are, and they're constantly, in a state of happiness, because they're adding to their collections of merit and their collection of wisdom.
어딘데 다 되네 임바자 나랑도 단다 레당보래 레당보 임바 이나야 다 지게 가서데 장조성의 편유 돈이도베 셔라고 편유데 갈라 간점지 신고 여자 다 맞아 나라수가 지 강뚝뚝이 에 대다가 람람람네 안 대다게 제바다 tum바잖아 나라수가 아니 지 뭐바 이제存在내 받제네 아니 지게 동해 중화 임바 이나야 동해 중화 임바네 동해 뒤 아니 지금 샘제 생게 동에 가져 용거 이번에 얘들 거쳐 봐쇼 삼사가 된데 삼로다네 편받다 아니 지금 랑이 개와디게 되베 태솜다 팡샘다 되네 강에 매버도는 타입에 매게 샘제도 뭐하제네 오다 대다 단자 랑이 나사바 단다 사시바 마음바 사스베 개와디게 탐제 안데다 단자가 내가게 아니 최주베 튼제네 저 타도 아니 산제 고마 보도 아니 베 튼제 가르권 뒤 규를 주와쇼 서는 뭐하지 뭐하지는 어떻게 어딘지 다가는 세계 저거 가서데 저 동해를 동아 강에 내 나자라 강에 저 중앙 인바이나야 야 되게 아니 유대는 좀 말해 유대는 좋아 말이 규제 먹고 저서 촌을 좋아해서 아니 라와도 마 좋아 되게 야 되다도 지금 돈이가 되어서 저 공부시 라 유대는 좋아이나 당분에 강에도 용거 첨자 강에 매도고 유대는 뭐 주베 다데 된거 요와 규제 촌을 유대 마촌을 매되게 쳐도 어다 되게 들었다고 라와는 뭐 좋아 저야 되게 돈이가 되발야 공부시 아니 돈이 녀바 되게 매와 이제 주저 삼로 땅 아니 대화제 동바 대화 동바 대돈 뉴스에 시켜서 매바 이실로 줘서 봐 삼로 땅 다다다 대동 대대는 누가 요말에 때 이내 매바 이실 주고 봐 삼로 땅 동바니 녀바 니서 라지가 마도 또 삼로사 디 동바 녀바 디 로디 대화디 녀바 로디 동바니 또서 삼삼 매바 이실 주고 봐 삼로 땅 삼로 땅 어딘데 제 어디가 이제 들으지 야는 우당한테 우마당도 랑게 뒤선데 계사 탐자 심자 탐자를 마당이 삼사체 아니 다네 아니 대다가 내가 그 최주배 통계는 다도 산재 고마버가 통계 가져 되다 중수 삼사체 우 야란데 심제 생게 아니 제내 나달어서 동네 제가 단지 대제 바차 제가 그가 야련소 삼사체 소소게 아니 제가 가서데 그래서 란진진 디 간라 팀소 삼사체 아니 대달라 아니 내 나자다 단지 말이 버들 매와 차소 서서 어데네 공부시 어데 야래도 랑게 란진진데 매와 차소 삼사체 다 현진진면도 제면서 오마단 아니 샬라 와다 동생 변에 어데네 전에 다 간자 단단해 검네 아니 남신하다 지금 그 뒤에 손에 미네 봐서 그 누가 체다 쪽으로 와 아니 내려 주대 아니 장주 선발래 당보아차 되네 림게자다 초람차 아니 되네 가사데 초람차 아니 되네 토람차 다 이봐서 이제 저 거기에 저는 그 튕게디아 두고 전 쪽으로 와 어디는 단다 장주 선발 저거 사토벌에 레긴 소에 아 당보 장주 되네 당분에 사토벌레와 장주서 벌레 당보 하자 되네 그래서 장주서 뭐 소개자 되네 나라서 디야 나라서 내 시제네 치와군데 이거 되네 곰네 리베스 야야야야야야 치마로 와 나라서였다 나라서 단다 오다 단다 나라서 다도 나르게 기부 담보 속에 레 당보 그거 냠내 지단데 나라서 단데네다 어때선 제발에 삼사잖아 아니 문제 때문에 나다 치준 주제 냠내 이사서 단다는 나라서가 배준 되는 시잖아 남신 제도가 용도로 와 어때들
And so, yes, so as beginners, how do we proceed? What are the steps that we need to take to bridge that gap between ourselves and the great bodhisattvas? So we need to reflect on, contemplate the benefits of the mind of enlightenment, the benefits of compassion, of great love, of cherishing others. All of this is going to help us to kind of integrate this into our lives. That the practice that we can do and do the best we can to practice accordingly. But even where we feel limited, we do so through your aspiration, to really feel that that if I'm experiencing some suffering, for example, I can really kind of really take on the idea that may no sentient being have to experience this kind of suffering, to be able to take it on myself, and to kind of take on all that suffering and all that negativity, all that, even the imprints of, and to kind of take it in for yourself, that you're sending out happiness that you feel. May all sentient beings be able to experience this happiness. So you're doing so at an aspirational level as much as you possibly can. To dedicate that, really as sincerely as you can, without any regrets or holding back, to be able to benefit sentient beings, and to make the prayer that may they all have the conducive conditions to be able to practice the Dharma, and to kind of do so in the meantime, to engage in that practice, and ultimately, of course, to attain the state of enlightenment. May any illness or disease or any kind of pain not be seen as an obstacle for them, but to see them as another cause and condition to be able to enhance their collections of merit and wisdom. And so this is the way that we see all suffering, that and we can see that in this life, in this kind of reality of cyclic existence, sometimes we are suffering, sometimes we're not suffering. And so we can see that there's to be able to see that because of that, suffering is not something, solid. It doesn't have any objective existence. And to kind of loosen the idea of it being something so big and solid like that, to move towards the fact that it lacks any objective existence, to bring forth that sense of a bliss and voidness, and to abide in the wisdom of bliss and voidness. Again, moving at the aspirational level by really bringing to mind the lack of inherent existence, the lack of objective existence in all of what we're seeing. Likewise, in our breathing, our just inhalation and exhalation, we can affect a very powerful practice as well, and uh, and so it's like and again, like to use this, and again as a kind of in the short term, a temporary kind of a enhancement of our practice, ultimately to bring it to that state of enlightenment, to take the negativities of all sentient beings, as well as their imprints, and to really take them in, like with the inhalation, to down to as we bring the breath down to our heart level, where there's our own ball of self-cherishing, to see that as something which is eroding that self-cherishing and even destroying that self-cherishing, is very, very important. And so to be able to engage in that practice, and again, of course, to sending out our out breath, to send all of our goodness, all of what is best about within us, to dedicate it freely, again without regret, to all sentient beings, to be able to benefit them in the best way we possibly can, free of any self-cherishing or self-grasping there on our part. And that to kind of like really see that what we are doing in this way is not just kind of reducing these kind of like nefarious attitudes of self-cherishing and self-grasping, but slowly kind of robbing them of their influence and power over us, so that at one time we can really eradicate them, and to be able to really take on the attitude of a bodhisattva in a very genuine way, and therefore step onto the path of preparation, the path of accumulation, and then the path of preparation, with the view to realizing emptiness directly, to attain the path of seeing, and simultaneously the first ground of a bodhisattva. So all of this is something that we can gradually engage in, whether we're doing so at an aspirational level, or we can physically actually engage in these positive practices as well. And so to understand also that those great bodhisattvas that we are that are being talked about, they started out like us as beginners. They were very much restricted in the same way as we were, but were able to habituate to these correct ways of thinking, these much more positive ways of thinking, these much more selfless ways of thinking. And we have to kind of take on the fact that we can do so too. This is within our capability. Now we can do this.
我等等的，这个等到啥通报了那个，上节早了，当然啥通报那个，当然就讲究什么，说节就说，当我俺那说来当报啊，这来当报啊，这个，个说的，但这个俺们这个当报，俺们个当拿出来每个人，里面当拿多少种，等等多少这俺们这，俺们对当报马的话差，也我马的话差，等等这呢，靠这个热马当话这呢。무튼에 배전전에 아니 그 준비 야 눈도 쇼바네 야그 샥도므라 제 양조 야 탑시 제전 매매에 간자서네 아니 그 지금 도서 비다다다다다다다다다다 오다 저거 열봐 오 저거 다 조단되네 오다 저와 모두 살려 마다 왔잖아 또 지가서 지고 가서 려 마다 왔잖아 무튼에 다 배전제리 개쳐버려 남신은 장주 그섬 주마 많이 봐지게 아니 저 동네를 가르가자데 지금 예반이 아니 가서서도 그 래라달라달라달라달라다 줘요. 래라달라달라다 되네. 돈이 고슴도 따사되다 되네. 냠는 그 지제 다 저거 가서래 저가서데 최소 저대지 용되고 열와 다 되게 된가 그 지금 당보 지금 마도 그냥 지금 아니 배전 제제제는 아니 비다다다다다다다다 시겨와 다 되게 된 거죠. 예반예반제네. 시바제네. 당고 상계에서 당분의 상계 된거 장주 서바 당분의 장주 서바 인데 되는 말에 되는 맹게제 나서 나시 내 당보에 치와 군대 인게제 되네 지금 아니 림베 아니 도나 때잖아 림베 배주제 차도 봐 이거 되네 지 이마도 못 봐 지고 구여 봐 어때 되네 저만 나라도 레와 줘 봐.
And so to understand also, this is a very gradual process. That the great bodhisattvas at a very high level, they were like us, as rank beginners at a stage. And so, like us, their practice was not something good, not such great quality practice. And that what is really important is that even at this stage, we must never give up. Even if we're not that impressed by our own practice, we must never give up. We must persist. It's very, very important that one continues on as much as possible to, purify when one can, to engage in acts of generosity, etc., and to do whatever we can, and to see that there is a slow but invariable improvement in our attitude. And so that, again, never give up, maintain one's effort to try and gain more and more conviction as well in the path you have chosen, in what you're doing. That makes everything easier when you have more conviction. And so to also, keep making that effort until, when you attain that state of emptiness, this is going to change. It's a game changer, of course, and that, we maintain that and understand again that this is a gradual path. This is a gradual process of improvement.
그래서 저도 저기 모던 에듀케이션 서로지나 그 기밥 제와 있네 그 세대 계절에 실은 내가 요 말이야 아니 세대네 가자링도 되면 시식 말와 다들 그 땡도 디기 주변에 교대다 다다 기밥 전데 촌을 매버와 촌을 매버다
And so, unlike modern education, that when we get our degree, etc., that's the end of it for us. We got a piece of paper, and that's fine. But in this particular form of education, and this is our educating ourselves into definite happiness. There is no end date really laid out. That's up to yourself. That one must keep going.
Because life to life,
from life to life.
다 가져 ultimate benefit 다 가져 땡도 되게 토비게 주인 바인사 다 걸, 딜려다나 자원요 다 땡도 글럽 좀 더버는 어다 소서 제도고 뭐도서 샤샤나 시라시다 경라요 말에 다 딜려다와 임바이나 딜럽 좀다 냠내 운에 제도바데 땡조고 르데니나 제도고 다 단조고 레데 야야니에 요바데 셰토 마도래 다 다른 니바데 배주 땅 도바이나 거 땡도 되게 주위에 거 지가서데 니바지 땡도 되게 주주 두고 와 뚝뚝으로 와 어다디 려나다 사와니나 마티게 차대고 또 당문에 전에 상로 당신 게 지마 있나 어다들 배주 제고다 배주 거제지네 제투고였나 제 제고에 차대도 와 어디래
And so, yes, we should never adopt the attitude that we can't. Oh no, I couldn't possibly. I can't. It's kind of like you really don't know what you are kind of giving up by doing that. Because, you're in a situation as a human being where you have particular advantages to being able to take on a path like this. That this is known as a precious human rebirth. And it is no guarantee that you will get this precious human rebirth again in the next rebirth. And so it's kind of like, really, yes, one must make the effort, but it's kind of like really imperative that we take the essence of this precious human rebirth by putting in the best effort we can. And so that's kind of a very, very important to make whatever effort you can, and then to stick with that, to say, this is the necessary effort I have, pledged myself to go forward with.
다 숨바 좀제 되나 람 줘발라 태바 메발레 개발 셰발레 자왈레 데네 장주 셈도지 뭔지 디바 세제죠 소남 자주 뒤제체 년도 남래 초도 셰섬.
The third of these points was because of this reason, in terms of progress on the path, the Bodhisattva is superior to the Shravaka practice, it is said. And the verse is number 29, where it says, due to the strength of his awakening mind, the Bodhisattva consumes his or her previous negativities and harvests oceans of merit. Hence, he or she is said to excel the Shravakas.
다니 전부 되네다 장주 선바 다니 전부 되네 장주가 셈지 돕제서 동에게 자수 동에게서 교 뭔지 디바 세바 체체 아니 대외 교선남다 이시가 초 자주 더보서 뒤바 제바 인사 람저발라다 년뒤 남의 초도 셔바를 초도 셔도 셔바 오자.
And so here saying that the great beings, the great bodhisattvas, due to the power of the bodhisattva mind, they can kind of eradicate oceans of previous negativity or causes of suffering. And likewise, they can amass oceans of the collections of merit and wisdom through the causes of happiness. And because of that, they are said to be superior in the progress on the path to the practitioners of the Shravaka vehicle.
그래 로아다 가서데 지금 년도 되게 라니 집어시도 되니 로켄다 년종 요르데 아니 돈이 도베 셔라베 고고 요르데 이내다 거지기 가서데 저거서데 다 가서데 또 가서데 다 간제 저 군원 잡데 다 간제 저 라니 집어 아니 코에 동에래 지네 아니 델레 타네 아니 타와 돈도 내고 요바자 짐바 당와 이네这个金巴中当出征松，安尼这个做的针对咱三点工，但现在工，家里结巴银巴银那样，家里结巴银巴银那样，或这当的牛巴全部的银那样，讲究什么呢？就错拉全部做嘛多，看讲究什么做，金巴当出征松个什么叫他们这个东东，是吧？先见这个的，但这个让见这个我们接受，可牛巴开把学这个多，拉起就牛巴开把学这个要的。랍치본 코안에다 다 두고 열대 얘나야 코지게 산제 줄라 만들어야다 되게 랍치본 뭐여야 안 짐바 송할 때 짐배 파진 거 냠래라 마줘야 로아 추정 순거다 추정 거 파진라 냠래 마줘 가서 지나 돈이 더 배시라 거 선바 연구 열래 냠래 지고 열래 대 얘나 장주 거 선거 선바 매바 인사 아니 거다 가서 파진 쪽에 냠래도 마요 되게 차지고 열와 집에 냠내 연구를 추림 양내 연구를 아니 저 세배 냠내 연구를 준비 연구열 3등에 셔럽 냠내 연구를 때 얘네야 집에 8등에 냠내도 연구요 말이야. 그러 가서 장주가 쓴거 맞아. 돈도 배 셔럽 쓴 거야. 장주가 쓴거 맞으면서 용도 돈도 배 셔럽 맞아도 타봐야 톱도 말아 봐. 타배 줄을 저거도 탐제 집에 줄을 말아도 장주가 쓴거 맞으면서 차되기도 와. 좋아.
So the Shravaka vehicle practitioner of course, is a very high-level practitioner. They have generated the mind of renunciation. They have a realization of emptiness. The differences in terms of their motivation. The motivation of the Shravaka practitioner is to attain liberation from cyclic existence for themselves alone. And that and because of this, of course, they have, merit, they have wisdom, but it is because of the motivation. So, for example, the motivation of the Bodhisattva, of course, is to attain the state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. And so all the actions that are done subsequently are done with that motivation. So it's a much more vaster motivation, much more vast objective. And so it said that then that practitioner is kind of superior in these ways to the Shravaka being. And so from the point of view of the Shravaka being, is that they are motivated to attain liberation from cyclic existence. Their aim is not to attain enlightenment, but to attain liberation from a cyclic existence. So therefore, they generate no causes to attain that enlightenment. They do not generate any perfection of generosity causes, perfection of ethical conduct causes, perfection of patience and enthusiastic effort and meditation and wisdom causes, because they don't have the mind of enlightenment motivation. Of course, they collect merits related to generosity, ethics, patience, etc., but not the perfection of the 6 perfections, which are the practices designated for those who have generated the mind of enlightenment itself. And so from the Shravaka's point of view, they don't worry themselves to generate that mind of enlightenment motivation. And so therefore, their practices are not imbued with that same kind of power.
어디로 용다. 다음에 신게 지가 소대 년도다 란제게 아니 거서 년도다 란제게 저다 간자 거서대 거서대 냠레 바지 다 간자 지 체딜라 다 토람 타바이나 체딜라 토람 타 메데 체딜라 자주메 고마 타바이나 야 아니 semla 동네 용마다 룰레 동네 용데 요래 삭제가 류여 봐 인자 다 장주 선바이나 체들라 토랑 토바이나 룰레 동네 용거 요말 그래서 장주가 생거 온 거요 돈이도 배셔라 요바 집벌 차대도 와 돈이 뭐좀도 와 집벌 차대도 다 장주가 셈 유명 개발게 장주가 셈 유견데 돈이도 뭐좀도 돈데 다 근데 파바디다 대바집에 냠내 지게데 토람 토한데 류네 교도라 사메 류네 교도고 단다데 년도다 란제게 대 체들라 토랑 토바이나 토랑 토바 체들라 자초바 토바이바이나야 류데 사제가 류데데고요. 그래서 장주가 셈매바 인상 아니 같은 나베게 레닝고 풍고데 내교투고요 말이야. 내교투고요 말이야. 어다데 장주가 셈스는 누바신다 미자 중도가 요도와 다디고 디가 개발 연구도와 어때네.
So there are two levels of practitioner, the Shravaka practitioner and the solitary realizer or practitioner. Again, their practice is to attain the state of that arhat in this life, that even though they don't have any mental suffering at that state, but they still have contaminated physical aggregate in this life. And so that means that they're prone to physical suffering because of that. And so this is a distinction between these practitioners and the Bodhisattva practitioner also, that they can proceed along the path of accumulation, the path of preparations, and into the path of seeing, where one gains access to that path through the realization of emptiness directly. Now, this can be the same for both the Shravakas, the solitary realizer, and the Bodhisattva being. However, because the solitary realizer and Shravaka practitioner on the path of seeing do not have the mind of enlightenment, they still have a contaminated physical aggregate at that point, whereas the Bodhisattva who has attained the path of seeing, because they have not only realized emptiness, but also have the mind of enlightenment. Their physical aggregate is now a non-contaminated physical aggregate.
미지직 나로라 미지직 나로라 당부게 당부 안에 사제가 류여바 이내 장주가 생명냠내 자 동인고선 도베 셔 동도 류데 치모고가 내주고 요래 가서 사제가 가서 사메 류를 내주고 요래 ਪਰ 녀랑이 되돌아 세딜라 안에 동인고선도 도바 이바 이나야 하고 차버려 이나 류 내주고 뭐도 남의 레뉴 부부도 치고도 치내면도 내주고 뭐도
And so it's saying in this life, in this one life, should say we have these three practitioners gaining the path of seeing in this one life. From the Bodhisattva's point of view, they attain this uncontaminated body upon attaining the path of seeing. Whereas the Shravaka and the solitary realizer practitioner, even though they realize emptiness, of course, attaining the path of seeing, they still maintain a contaminated physical body or aggregate.
我的那他的那一般的就个讲究个什么原没个讲究个什么的他修把这个说了他，其他当年都被写了，给全部修起来，当年都被写了没完以后，我们帮助个要嘛的，是吧？好多的让大家马里吧，是吧？刚才个大家修个大家你的，但你不得大面都被写了没到讲究个什么个，你把穷的当头个，的话不是那个的，当年都被写了个牛口多，牛口多。 但이나 양 장주가 셈매와 이나 장주가 셈매와 이나 택바 침부될 죽으면 도와 택바 침불을 맞추와 이나 아는 산제 주도 두고면 도와 뭐다들 장주가 셈생데 다 간자 쉬우지 개치 못 차되겠지.
And so, when in terms of the mind of enlightenment itself, just considering just how vital and important that is, that as magnificent as a realization of emptiness is, it's so important because, in order to really overcome mental affliction, we must realize emptiness directly. The particular understanding of the lack of the true existence of a self entity. When we can affect that, then we can cut the whole kind of line of mental affliction. We can work towards that point of reducing the level of ignorance in our minds, but we must gain that realization of emptiness in order to really cut the root cause of cyclic existence. And so that is considered very, very important. And so for all of these practitioners, that realization is the same. But without, the mind of enlightenment, there is no entry into the Mahayana vehicle practices, and there is no entry into the Bodhisattva grounds. And so this is considered to be, as important as the realization, the direct realization of emptiness. And so it said that there is the self-grasping of persons and the self-grasping of phenomena, both. And so to really progress, one must see the lack of inherent existence of both. But it said that unless one has the mind of enlightenment, we can realize the emptiness of persons, but we will not be able to ascertain the emptiness of the lack of inherent existence of phenomena. And so mind of enlightenment seems essential in being able to realize the emptiness of inherent existence of phenomena. Oh, so, oh, sorry, not just not simply realizing that emptiness, but rather to be able to cut through the self-grasping of both persons, the self-grasping of phenomena, their imprints as well as their imprints. So that's what the mind of enlightenment concentrates on.
그래서 간사 단제의 추기 단제니데 다음에 도배 셔럽게 빵투고래 얘네야 다음에 도배 셔럽게 빵투고 요르데 얘네 디 바자디 가서래 다가자 장주가 생게 심배 전주가 생게 심배 돈이 도배 셔럽게 메도 돈이 도배 셔럽 장바가 빵투고 요 말이야 어다 간자 어된된자 상계
so that's clear. Yeah, so when one is solely operating through the mind of reflecting on emptiness, one can overcome the ignorance of the grasping at the true existence of persons, and one can overcome grasping at the true existence of phenomena. But without that mind being imbued with the mind of enlightenment, one cannot effect the abandonment of the imprints of those two minds. So we're talking about, yeah. So we're talking about the when this is referred to, it is referred to as the ultimate mind of enlightenment, as opposed to the conventional mind of enlightenment.
가서다 단지 란젠젠 단지 머리반니게 지고여서 아니 란젠제가 년보때 아니 셴젠제 장주가 셈제 아니 다음에 단지 머리반 년보때 다음에 또 배시라 다 딘니가데 매도메로 와차기도 딘니가데 매도메로 와차기도 뭐다 된데
And so it's kind of like, you can see the quintessential importance of the mind of enlightenment in this way. And indeed, in terms of, the inability, to attain liberation from cyclic existence, to attain the state of enlightenment itself, one must deal with both the self-cherishing and the self-grasping attitudes. These are the two big ones. And that, the antidote to overcoming self-cherishing is the mind cherishing others. The antidote to self-grasping is the wisdom of selflessness. And so both are necessary in equally. And so to include those both is of very, very major importance. And so let's leave it there for today.
다 되네 임바인사 당고저 저거 거두이네 다 내단 근데 차바이네 장주가 셈다 동리도베 셔니가 거두이네 삼로 당사 유에 되게 거두이네 삼로 되게 고급 셈제네 아니 장주가 셈 마기바 깨바도 권에 거두지 아니 동리도베 셔라데 마기바 깨바 권에 konto 베제 지에 당고저 나라저거다 이 가서래 다 랭게나네 개치슈데 로아 개치슈데 다 디샤잖아 거두이네 점바다 시신가 심바잖아 고급 거두이네 심토바 제다 개치버려도 어디래
And so really to conclude, it's the ability to reflect on these two, the mind of enlightenment, the wisdom of emptiness, together as much as we possibly can, and indeed to infuse our every action with that kind of combination of motivation, that one is able to take every opportunity to kind of really imbue one's own mind with these two quintessential mind states, that and to make that prayer that in whatever sense my mind of enlightenment has not grown, may it arise and increase forevermore. Whatever sense my realization of emptiness has not been generated, may it arise and grow and increase forevermore. And to use every situation to do that, to instill those two mind states in whatever motivation we have.
어디 개치 무슨 것도 있네 semla 항 로 배랑 알아 저게 저 니마치를 제 된다 개치 뭐 제바 근데 것도 있네 된다도 semla 젠디 그러와 젠디 그러와 다 디능신 전에 알아 저거 어다 땐도 되게 두발라 산제 고마마도 타면도 산제 고마도베 다 주의 쏘데 장주가 semla 돈이 도베 싫어합니다 된데 이마 이자 다가 내가 건제지 이마 이네다 내가 건제지 이마 차와 이나야 티 장주 semla 돈이 도베 싫어하게 아니 튕겨라 자투바지 당에 소외된 게 랭겐이 삼삼전에 랭겐이 삼삼전에 와다디 아니 전세가 심어지는 그 뒤에 안 뒤쳐라 티도바 이나 아니 랑게 미지데 된다 된바 차와 와다 간제 저게 레다 미지 된다 된바 다 딜레 된다 된바 하가지고 봐다 된다 된바서 그 르마 먹고 싶지도 다 산제 고마 줄라 조겐 중앙 델 딜레 된다 된바 차와지 가리요 요 말와 어때들
So yes, and so then whenever, in whatever situation we are in, to try to seize the opportunity to increase the understanding of, the influence of, the presence of these two minds in our lives is so important. And think about, you have something really important to do, and how much that exercises your mind throughout a day until you get to do it. And so think about that, and to kind of like see, this is the most important thing I could be doing with my time, is to generate the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness. And so allow your mind to be infused in such a way, consistently and constantly. And so really, to really see this as my commitment, this is my responsibility, this is my commitment to life now, and that this is how I make my life meaningful. And of course, there are many different levels of a meaningful life, aren't there? But if one is able to integrate the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness into every moment of a life, then there really is hard to imagine something more meaningful than that.
데나 아니 인지kel에 successful 다 successful 문에 되래 산제 고마 주에 주주 뚝뚝거든 데 successful래 다 무트비랄 저거 레갈 약보지라 데 successful 라고다 데 successful 문 따주래 데네 데도 줘야게 텐도 디기 줘야 주주 뚝거든 다데 문에 successful meaningful successful 되래다
And so, and again, it's playing with that word successful, that when somebody is seen to be a successful person or to have led a successful life, here we're describing successful as the laying down of the causes to attain enlightenment. And that is a successful life. Just to get a good position, promotion, or a good job is regarded as successful. But in this context, you can cast a lot of doubt about that. Here, we're looking at what is going to guarantee definite happiness, and that is the laying down of the causes for enlightenment. And you do that by operating through the mind of enlightenment and the wisdom realizing emptiness.
I think Nalinda tradition successful.
Yeah, that's success according to the Nalanda tradition.
successful 내가 기부 여기다 제가 녀다 롱바가 연거와 단다데 녀다 싸완이네 매베거나 띠도 디게 주고 다데 successful meaningful successful 어때 먼저 관계 배주 적을 관계 배주 적을
And so other forms of success may, look good in the short term, but may create long-term suffering. Whereas this successful is guaranteed to create no suffering and to gain ultimate happiness finally. So we do one's best to do so. And so we'll visualize the Guru Buddha in the merit field in front again.
아니 로다 제 감소 도와도 가봐 깨와 있네 다 동해를 맞대 버려 산자보다 제 가서래 다 동해 동안 교회 동안 잡아 두지 그 동해를 맞대 버려 산보다 공부하시래 되게 예바 줘 연조 저 공부하시 안 되는 연조 예발로다 랑게 주월라 뼈마다 비제를 교수 삼사자 다 신난 게 최 근데 줘봐이네 고 유대는 주바스가 두상 영화 말해서 코다 쳐봐 삼로다 그 유대는 중앙 인반에 때는 중앙 좀 제모도 그 때는 연구도 와 됐던 거, 뒤 좀새 가르 따던 거 열었으나 그 라운드 주토고 매를 따던 거 열었어. 어때 가자 가던들 셈도샤. 되는 예배 로데 아니 지금 배마 답게 되라. 아니 님의 지금 뭐냐 가지고 줘서 삼사체. 다 된대 좀새 된대 임바도 유대는 주바 매바 이나 아니 유게 된대 초발이 인도 다 산제 고마서 된대 죽죠 줘봐다. 그 유대는 마주바 인사 그때인데 뒤좀새도 근데 이마 인사다 산제 고마 주유는 마주는 페네틱 서버 심지 탑에도 산제 고마 주구에 대한 뉴안이도 주구인 삼사 된데 로지코 된데 tum바티 아니 가서데 다외진 거 약한 저 님의 때도 님의 진거 때도 내서 반대 자외 라마를 뭐저 당에 주어변에 가서 구소 토정으로 선대제 담배 가서 니베 가서 스베 때도 주는 산제 고마마다 그것도 제소 송수 야라도 봐 맨데데 저 어디네 저
And so we begin our reflection on renunciation, taking into account that cyclic existence is in the nature of suffering, be it the suffering of suffering itself, the suffering of change, and in particular pervasive suffering, which is going to be the status for us until we actually attain liberation from cyclic existence. And not only that, but it will also keep inducing the former two sufferings. And so we develop this mind of renunciation, wanting to attain definite emergence from this reality. This is symbolized by a lotus mandala seat on our own crown. And then we reflect on the fact that all inner and outer phenomena lack any objective existence, and even at the atomical level. This lack of inherent existence is seen to be that phenomena are not in any way self-powered. And so this is symbolized by the sun mandala disc, and that is again on top of the lotus seat on our crown. And then the fact of this lack of any objective existence or lack of any independent existence points to the fact that therefore phenomena must exist dependently, namely in dependence upon causes and conditions, for example. And in the context of attaining the state of enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, it therefore validates a path of cause that we can lay down in order to actually attain that state of enlightenment. And so the whole practice of gaining the mind of enlightenment becomes validated. And that mind of enlightenment there is symbolized by the moon mandala seat. Then we utter the invitational verse, "O glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seat placed here on my crown. Keep me safe in your kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind." The first recitation of that brings the Guru Buddha forth. The second, the Guru Buddha arrives at our pre-prepared seat. And at the end of the third recitation, we have that certainty that the Buddha will remain until we attain a state of enlightenment. We now offer the seven-limbed prayers, seven-limbed offerings, and the mandala offering to the Guru Buddha on our crown.
아니 야죠 공부시 조잖아 로다 저기 가서데 저 가서 감동 좋아지고 가밖에 와 있네 다 동네를 맞대 버려서 로다 어디는 공부시네 다 간제 저거 잡아 뒤지 그 동네 좀 봐봐 봐도 다 동네를 타 가지고 하면도 어디는 뭐 집에 돈에 아니 연중kom 되는 게 봐줘 게 로데 아니 랑닝데 빼마다 제질 교수 삼사차 다 지난 거 초근데서 임바 이내야 어느 유대는 주바다 뒤상의 모두 산다 코다 주바 sabda wa yuden de zhuba de ko den ko zhuba den ge yude yuden ma zhuba da den ge ba de ba ni ba chen ge ba den zhuba ni ba chen ba khoda zhuba kong ba chen 어제 되게 예배 로데 아니 가서데 벌써 님의 정보 약하고 조소 사차차 아니 되네 다 좀제 되네 임바 인자 다 산제 고마 다 가서도 두주 요바다 다 be자 다 쳐서샤 가서 그 주도와 주게错了 되는 연구도 와다 주게 되게 로다 장주가 서 돈이 또 베셔라 라서 와다 제조 바지 두고 냠래 라서 와다 뒤에 뭐 보자 되게 냠래 되게 되잖아 산제 고마 주에디 연구도 와 요바다 뭐 쳐봤잖아 와다 두주 요바 좀 맞도 지금은 또 삼사잖아 안 대한 요한이도 맞은 지금은 또 사서 공부했잖아 아니 되게 가서 되다 요한이도 두바 지금 사서 공부했어 아니 되게 tumba디 아니 다외지 원약하고 저 빠져서라 뭐 뭐지 다근인가 보다 가서 구수도 좀 못자도 순대자 담비 가서 패 니베 가서 쇼 수배가 때도 쇼나 산제 공부마도 그 제소 다 야보시고 좀소 다 랑이 니그 위해서 다 간자자 산제 공부마도 다 라마 투영 뭐 됐네서 다 야보시고 좀소서 가고 아니 랑이닝 빼마다지 마카도 남준닝 내다 티가 도지가 버상어 차가지 카제 데이터고 또 몇상아 다에도 뭐는 마 문에서 무슨 거 되네 지도 잠배가 또 엄마 알아봐서 나디디 드레스 코라 드레스 되네 텐데가 송 엄마 얘다 마 해도 뭐 샤만에 소한테 무슨 거대 어디 좀 거지
And again, we reflect on renunciation, how the six realms of existence never get beyond suffering. And indeed, until we are able to rid ourselves of pervasive suffering, we also will never get beyond cyclic existence, never get beyond suffering. And so we develop this sense of renunciation again, wanting that sense of emergence from a cyclic existence, which is symbolized by the lotus mandala seed placed at our heart now. And then also we're looking at the fact of all outer and inner phenomena lacking any objective existence. They are merely imputed. This sense of they're lacking any independent existence, but must exist independence on something else, and that we understand that this is the fact of all phenomena, lacking any sort of objective existence, even at the atomical level, and that mere imputation leads to our visualization of the sun mandala seed, and then that this fact of the matter of phenomena arising independence, we can validate the whole path to the state of enlightenment itself. It makes it all possible. Why? Because we can establish all the causes and conditions that would lead to that very result. The whole validation of the law of cause and effect is rendered possible because phenomena all arise independence, and that so the practices that lay down those causes, for example, the generation of the mind of enlightenment, the subsequent practice of the six perfections and the four ways of accumulating disciples and so on, can lead to that state of enlightenment. Now, our efforts to quickly attain that state of enlightenment also add to that possibility of being able to do so. And so that mind of enlightenment is symbolized by the moon mandala seed. Again, we make the invocation verse. So, glorious and precious root guru, come take your lotus and moon seed placed here at my heart. Keep me safe in your kindness. Bestow on me the attainments of body, speech, and mind. At the end of the first recitation, the Guru Buddha stirs and moves down from our crown down into the central channel. At the end of the second recitation, it comes to our pre-prepared seat at the heart. And at the end of the third, again, we have that wonderful certainty that the Buddha will remain until we attain enlightenment. This is really wonderful. Then the petals of the lotus fold over the Guru Buddha, and they're sealed at their tips by a white five-pronged semivajra, and then they are surrounded by three mantras. The name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha in a clockwise direction, the mantra of Manjushri in an anti-clockwise direction, and the mantra of dependent origination again in a clockwise direction.
rangi nigo to lama tuwe oba neba di ane rangi chigwane kanti ka pada lu tamjala ane kasa da 외세기 참네 그러다 외세기 참네 아니 저거 가서래 토마베바라서 디바다 켜봐도야 봐 소주와 맞아 비상서 주인 참아 쳐 나서 주인 참아 쳐좀 가지 나서 늦은 로다서 다 제배 간다보다 라제 간다보다 세딜라 싸봐 생가마 디가 토마베바 싸বে 내가 그리네 봐 장저 다바 중수 상사전 안 다가는 생게 저 가서래 소소답에 도바다가 자주서 라바 상하에 단데 파다 말라마 그보다 저보다 로벨라 마그보다 좋아성 받으면 구조섭라 되베 레지바 답에 최풍와 파베 준들로 고하다와 습제다 되베 레지바 소바다 디바미 여서 소소이 기바라 이제와 생기 기도 지바 아 생기 기발라 제수 이라 말을 쳐봐서 다 돌되바다 토리다 탑에 계속 주야다 코하다 계속 코 예다 간제지 사바 이바이나 대다 산제 바 장치 다바 중소 상사자 하도도 뉴도 산제 고마타와라 탐에게 나시의 교연 치슈이면서 탐에게 나시의 교연 탐제다나 가난 타자 다바라샤 바지 차도 야부시우 중소 섬서 어디에 공부자
And so light rays begin to emanate from the Guru Buddha within, and they permeate through all of our body, from the crown of the head through to the soles of our feet, affecting a thorough and complete purification of all negativities that we have accumulated since beginningless time, such as the 10 non-virtues of any negativities related to killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, of lying, harsh speech, divisive speech, and idle gossip, of covetousness, malicious intent, and wrong view, of all the negativities that we have, naturally occurring negativities, or all those actions proscribed by the Buddha. The negativities that we have accumulated in this life, and the one previous to this life, and the one previous to this life, that life going back to beginningless time, and all the breaking of our vows, be it the Pratimoksha vows, the Bodhisattva vows, or the Tantric vows, the disrespect that we have shown to our parents, right up to our gurus, the times that we have disparaged and abandoned the Dharma itself, and all the negativities that we have engaged in ourselves, those negativities that we have incited others to do, or rejoiced in the doing of. All those negativities are completely purified and completely gone, along with their imprints. And particularly the main attitude that we have that slows us down from attaining enlightenment quickly, being ordinary appearance, is now purified, and we are replaced with pure appearance.
어디는지 내가 랑게 아니 신도 차베 롱데 니랭게 자 라마샤자스 고데 렌지 지근잖아 아니 소소 루데 라마샤자스 고라 교수 섭자자 소소 신도 차베 셈데 니랭자 라마샤자스 투데 렌지 지근잖아 소소 셈데 라마샤자스 투라 교수 란게 르가 유숨다 라마샤자스 고수도 뭐 예메 교수 섭자자 태수 매버 교수 섭자 디 당와제 디 대와제 대외 동와제 아니 동배 대화제 대도니서 이시께서 삼자체 아니 랑 내사가 내대 녀기 교연 탐제 다네 라마샤자스게 답에시도 주수 삼자체다 랑 라마샤자스 구수도도 뭐 예매죠 나라라시 매버고 나라라시 매버디 델레 랑게 두가라 라마샤자스 생게 빠도와 셈제가 다는냐마 파트는 아니 감숨제 셈제 탐제라 아니 라마샤자스게 차상화를 아니 다 룽아 예술라 티발라 되네 아니 대다 계제가 라마샤자스 구수도도 뭐 예매 교수 삼자체 대다가 내사가 내대가 녀기 교연 탐제되네 아니 라마샤자스게 답에시도 교수 삼자고 다 야고 시우 중소 코아 니마들이 코아 동토바죠 소토소 아니 셈제 단자 라마샤자스 고발로 고토바 중소 다 셈제 단자 라마샤자 샤자스 고발로 고게서 니마들이 고토소 다 니마들이 이나 녜다 녜게 셈 딩네게 되베 되데 니마들이 쪽토소 산자 가고 안데레 다 셈제 단자 라마샤자 샤자스 살랍고바 디체도 수세 겨와 가주바 두고 소소도 잡아가 유대도 좀 두자 영화 말에서 동백 개도 아니 디 대화제 대화동화 대동지스면 이시께서 서서 고바샤
And then through the combination of my own most subtle wind acting as the substantial cause, together with the body of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own body is transformed into the enlightened body of a Buddha. And again, through the combination of my own most subtle mind acting as the substantial cause and the mind of the Buddha acting as the cooperative conditions, my own mind is transformed into the enlightened mind of a Buddha. I see my own body, speech, and mind now as completely inseparable from the body, speech, and mind of an enlightened being. This is something I really rejoice in. I kind of developed a sense of bliss, which combines with voidness, and the voidness which instills or imbues the bliss, and I abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness. And then the place that I am in also is completely purified of all fault. It becomes the celestial abode of an enlightened being. And then seeing myself as a fully enlightened being and also lacking any inherent existence, I, from my own body, speech, and mind, set out light rays, equal in number to all of the sentient beings in all the three realms of existence. And upon dissolving into their body, speech, and mind, they spontaneously arise as fully enlightened beings also. That also that their own body, speech, and mind now also is inseparable from the body, speech, and mind of an enlightened being. The realms and the situations that they are in are completely purified of all fault, and they are also rendered as the celestial abodes of enlightened being. This is wonderful. Today is a great day. I have really fulfilled the purpose of myself and all sentient beings. I have emptied cyclic existence and led all sentient beings to that state of enlightenment. And this is really something from the depth of my heart I rejoice in. It's really wonderful, wonderful. Having said that, of course, I understand that the leading of of sentient beings to that state of enlightenment, the merit which has facilitated that, and myself as the agent of that merit also are completely empty of inherent existence and merely imputed by thought. That brings forth a sense of bliss, again, which combines with voidness, and I again abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness.
我这，我这，他我就没把一这个，我那后来在来了，不是有嘛吧？
And of course, we're operating at the level of aspiration and imagination here. Nevertheless, in our dedication, we are sincere about dedicating this to the quick attainment of the state of enlightenment. To understand that to actually bring this about, to make this manifest, I must generate that mind of enlightenment, and that to generate the realization of emptiness. And therefore, that in itself it means that whatever my situation is, whatever I'm doing, and whatever mood I'm in, whatever arises for me, that I must see it all as conducive conditions for, again, enhancing that mind of enlightenment, that wisdom of emptiness in all that I do. In your da lai mo san ge dro kyo ne dro che kyang ma lu pa de sa lang ko par sho Ganjab Sem Chorimpoche Ma Ke Panam Ge Gyurche Ke Pa Nyam Pa Me Pa Yang Gong Ne Gong Du Pel War Sho Ne Da Wa Rinpoche Ma Ke Panam Ke Gyurche Ke Pa Nyam Pa Me Pa Yang Gong Ne Gong Du Pel War Sho Kowe Shinkam De Pendang Ne Wama Lu Jung Wei Ne Tenre Zigong Tenzin Gatso Yi Shape Sita Bardu Ten Gyur Che Me Tse Wei Tar Kenzin Rezi Dream Kempe Wong Pu Jam Bel Yang Gong Chen Kempe Tu Ken Song Kapa Me Kempe Wong Pu Jam Bel Yang Gong Chen Kempe Tu Ken Song Kapa Lo Sang Drape Chalo So Wade Me Te Wei Tar Kenzin Dream Kempe Wong Pu Jam Bel Yang Gong Chen Kempe Tu Ken Song Kapa Lo Sang Drape Shalom So Wade. You are Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of compassion, not aimed at true existence, and Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, as well as Vajrapani, destroyer of hordes of demons without exception. Thangkapa, crown jewel of the sages of the land of snows, Losang Drakpa, at your feet I make requests.
Okay, thank you. Take care, everyone.
Thank you again.